This week on ANN, an Adventist humanitarian agency continues aid to Nepal after the nation is rocked by a second earthquake.
Learn what makes a religious sect and why it's so important for the Seventh-day Adventist Church to protect its name.
And the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Brazil celebrates its 100th anniversary.
These stories and more coming up.
This is ANN, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church. Thanks so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, workers for the Adventist Development and Relief Agency have surveyed areas in Nepal affected by the second major earthquake to strike in less than 3 weeks. On Tuesday, the 7.3 magnitude earthquake struck 68 kilometers or 42 miles from the town of Namche Bazaar, which is close to Mount Everest. At the time of the recording, there were 65 confirmed casualties. According to a statement released by ADRA International, tens of thousands of displaced locals are living outside under tarpaulins or tarps provided by the agency. ADRA has also partnered with Global Medic to distribute tents to replace health posts that have been damaged by the massive earthquake. Make sure you stay tuned to see how ADRA is also distributing food to hundreds of families who've been displaced due to the quake.
We've previously reported on a violent altercation between police and members of a religious sect in Angola, known as Light of the World. While police were arresting José Jolino Calapateca, a former member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church who leads the group, a violent clash occurred that led to the death of 13 private security guards and 9 civilians. Some reports, however, claim that more than 1,000 people were killed during the altercation. According to Christianity Today, Angola's president criticized the group for causing social unrest and for scaring citizens into believing the world would end this year. Many news outlets have identified the religious sect as the Seventh-day Adventist Light of the World. We want to talk about the dangers of failing to protect our name and allowing ourselves to be associated with groups that are not Seventh-day Adventist. And here to help us with that is Bob Kite, president of Adventist Risk Management. Now, Bob, you are the Chief Risk Management Officer of the Adventist World Church. How do you respond when you hear such a tragic story as this?
Well, it is a tragic human story that took place in Angola and is ongoing. And first of all, my condolences go to all of the family members involved on both sides because there's been a lot of death and a lot of loss over there. From the standpoint of the church, I look at it and I'm concerned because here you have a group that really has no affiliation whatsoever to the Seventh-day Adventist Church. This leader of this group was put out of the church in 2001. I understand that 7 years later he started this group, and now we are in the news being affiliated as part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church to this group. And that to me is unfortunate for the church. It ruins our reputation in that country. We have 1,100 churches there and 430,000 members that are now dealing with this PR issue as well.
But this isn't the first time that other outside groups have taken our name, and then sometimes we get a little bit of kickback even from within our church. Why are we being so mean and taking to court the others who they're just nice people, which clearly wasn't the case in this situation. There was more going on than them just being a peaceful, nice religious group. But can you defend the fact that we have to sometimes take legal action?
Well, I think we can defend that. First of all, remember, Ellen White talked about the use of the name Seventh-day Adventist and the spiritual impact that the name has on people. And when you look at how these people are sometimes using our name, they're trading on the church's credibility. They're not really using the name because they're aligned with our beliefs. They're often organizations that are anti-church. They have left the organization because they're critical of the church or their activities do not comport with our beliefs and our activities. So, comparing those types of organizations to, say, supporting ministries, these are organizations that give us a lot of problems. When we enforce the use of the name Seventh-day Adventist for only the church, I want to stress that it's not done that suddenly we go to court, but rather they use the biblical process. The church uses the biblical process of going to these individuals, asking them and trying to work with them in an amicable way. And it's only when they're really recalcitrant and refuse to live with the law that applies in this case, but also the church's needs in this case, that they'll take the legal action.
I wonder if some viewers are curious as to how that process works. Whose responsibility is it to police the use of the church's name?
Well, by church policy, all organizations are supposed to be aware of how the church's name is used. Any church organization, and of course we have a yearbook with all of them listed, is free to use the name of the church. And they can use it in all of their gospel and their nonprofit type activities. So when an offender uses the name of the church, or a person that is using it inappropriately, it's brought to the attention of the legal department, the Office of General Counsel of the World Church, and then they try to work with the organization to get them to stop the use of the name.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church is supposed to stand for hope, and it's supposed to stand for wholeness, and it's supposed to give people a sense of who we are and what we understand about God. Again, you're constantly scouring the world to make sure that the ministries and the people that are engaging the mission of the church are safe. So how do you feel when you see the name pop up that sounds too close to our name and something tragic has happened?
Well, in this case, for example, in Angola, it's unfortunate that pretty well every newscast affiliates this group with the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And how I feel bad for the church in Angola, because how are they going to conduct their humanitarian work? How are they going to conduct their evangelism and all of the things that we stand for in a church when this is in the news associating these deaths and all of these activities with the Seventh-day Adventist Church? And I think that's one of the things that we like to stress in the church, is that when people hear the name Seventh-day Adventist, we want them to think of God's love. We want them to think of the humanitarian work we do, and not about people getting killed and heretical beliefs and all of the things that sometimes go on in these offshoot groups.
And that's the bottom line, projecting Christ's image to the world.
Correct.
Thank you so much, Bob. We've really appreciated your wisdom and helping us learn more about this topic. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church in Brazil last week celebrated its 100th anniversary in the nation. Avista sent this report.
No mesmo dia em que inauguraram a sede da Associação Paulista Sudeste, a comitiva com o pastor Ted Wilson veio até aqui, na Praça da Sé, um marco zero de São Paulo, para inaugurar a Base Gênesis, o primeiro centro de influência de São Paulo, a maior cidade do Brasil.
Esse é um dos pontos de São Paulo que mais circulam pessoas realmente necessitadas. É uma oportunidade nossa de testemunhar, de dar um abrigo, de acolher, não é? Dizer, ó, nós existimos. Não é? Quantos desses passam por aqui, vão para os seus bairros e não têm ideia do que é a Igreja Adventista?
A instalação de espaços que atuem como centros de influência junto à comunidade foi uma orientação dada por Ellen White ainda no século XIX. O objetivo é que eles prestem serviços à comunidade, a fim de que o evangelho se torne relevante na vida das pessoas das grandes cidades.
Centers of influence, whether they be vegetarian restaurants, book centers, whether they be places where young people are working from, Bible studies being given, churches, community service outreach, publications that are given to people, and media, places which are centers of influence. They're vital for contact with people. And this is Jesus' method, and we are to follow it.
A Base Gênesis está em um lugar estratégico de São Paulo. 1 a cada 3 trabalhadores ativos da capital paulista passam por ali diariamente. A diversidade cultural é a principal característica dessa região, que reúne cerca de 17 mil estabelecimentos comerciais. A expectativa é que o Centro de Influência Adventista na Praça da Sé seja um ponto de encontro para a diversidade paulistana.
E este local vai ser uma base de voluntariado para aplicar a filosofia de Ellen White, que é chamado Método de Cristo, de atendimento de necessidades no lado físico, mental e espiritual, visando alcançar essas pessoas. Então, junto com todas as instituições que estão aqui próximo, como o Hospital Adventista, o NASP, Casa Publicadora, a Superbom, uma série de programas de voluntariado manterão esse local ocupado manhã, tarde e noite, durante o ano inteiro.
O intuito é que os beneficiados pelas ações da Base Gênesis continuem frequentando o local, tornando-se voluntários para a manutenção do projeto. Além de beneficiar outras pessoas, essa logística transforma gente comum em discípulos de Cristo.
A recent report published by the Pew Research Center showed that while fewer Americans identify as Christian, the fate of evangelicals is a bit brighter. Throughout the past 7 years, evangelicals have lost less than 1% of their population share and are holding steady at 1 in 4 American adults. In contrast, mainline Protestants have lost about 3.5%, and only 15% of American adults identify themselves as Protestant. The biggest jump was in the group of people who identified as nuns, or those who are religiously unaffiliated, which jumped 7% in the past 7 years and has become the second largest religious group in the United States, behind evangelicals. The study was conducted among more than 35,000 adults from 2007 to 2014. In the next few weeks, we will talk more in depth about this topic and how the findings relate to the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
It's kind of difficult to know whether we're having a brand problem or a faith problem. That's a very interesting situation, isn't it?
Right, exactly. It's a rapidly changing landscape.
Absolutely. Leaders of the hospital operated by the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Taiwan recently celebrated a milestone for the institution. For the 60th anniversary of the Taiwan Adventist Hospital, Jairong Lee, president of the Adventist Church in Northern Asia Pacific region, thanked hospital staff for their commitment and dedication. Lee also thanked the hospital's leaders and staff for making the institution a distinguished and respectable regional hospital in Taiwan.
Coming up, find out where the Ebola virus outbreak has officially ended.
Welcome back, and now for more news from our global church community.
The World Health Organization last week officially declared the nation of Liberia free of the Ebola virus that had gripped the country for more than 9 months. The Seventh-day Adventist Church, through various institutions, including the Adventist Development and Relief Agency, has offered practical services for families affected by the virus throughout the duration of the outbreak. The agency's response to the virus in West Africa has included awareness and prevention campaigns, clinical work and community support.
Since Liberia was declared Ebola-free this past Sabbath, Liberia does have some ongoing Ebola response projects. They are continuing, just wrapping up one major education project, and some of the communities have actually requested that ADRA continue to do education and promotion activities in their communities even after Ebola. And we're also responding to schools. Many of the schools were closed for over 7 months, and so they had a tough time reopening, and ADRA is supporting them with providing school lunches for the kids, as well as back to school supplies that kids need to get back going in the classrooms. And we're also providing general food support to communities that have had their livelihoods and sources of food impacted by the Ebola crisis.
Employees, volunteers, and supporters of the Adventist Development and Relief Agency in the Philippines last week celebrated the agency's 30th anniversary. Attendees of the celebration reflected on past service projects and discussed how the agency can find more ways to make positive contributions to the nation in the future. Today, ADRA Philippines is still addressing the needs of families who are recovering from Typhoon Haiyan, which was one of the strongest tropical storms ever recorded. For more on the agency's efforts, ADRA Philippines sent this report.
Ang ngalan ko, si Ninita.
Ako po, si Sheila May Yanong.
Ako si Christine Ayola.
Ako, Hedelia Rael Singkoy.
Sang pagyulanda,
Amon balay, nanusdak.
Nagkarapalid man ka.
ang mga dingding niya nagkaraguba man.
Hindi na gid maistaran, hindi na gid masudlan.
Plastar na to na, ang iba nagkaagnon. Katuwag ako. Wala rin ko na mahuuk yan.
Malipay kagid lang eh. Amo na gani nga magpasalamat kami iya sa ADRA.
Madamo yung salamat sa nag-founder sang ADRA.
Lipay kagid lang hayti, wa ay ka na natuluan, wala ka na naaambihan ka ulan. Kung waray hira, pare ako yun.
Malaking pasasalamat ko sa taga-ADRA.
Tagaan niya ko pambot.
Ngayon marunong na ako maghalo ng mga compost, saka yung paglagay ng mga organic, saka yung pag-spray. Sa ADRA lang namin yung natutunan.
Maraming salamat po talaga. Biyaya po kayo ng Panginoon sa amin. Thank you po.
Nearly 2,000 youth in the nation of Botswana were encouraged to embrace healthy lifestyles during a youth rally and health walk. The event was organised by the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Botswana. The Honourable Moiserele Goya, Botswana's Assistant Minister of Education and a Member of Parliament, applauded the Adventist Church for sharing the benefits of a lifestyle throughout the nation. The Director of Youth Ministries for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Gilbert Kanji, also attended the event and praised the youth for their talents and their energy. He reminded attendees that self-sacrifice was the key to effective ministry, and he encouraged youth to follow the example of the Good Samaritan.
No students or faculty were harmed during a recent fire at a Seventh-day Adventist boarding academy in the U.S. state of Washington. The fire at Auburn Adventist Academy took place in industrial warehouses on the academy's campus. According to the school's website, Tom Decker, the school's principal, said, "We are grateful that everyone is safe and accounted for." He went on to say, "We are saddened by the loss of workspace for our industry partners and how this fire is affecting their business." Fire officials are still investigating the cause of the fire. Students of Auburn Adventist Academy are planning a fundraiser to support tenants of the warehouses who lost property items that were uninsured.
We've previously reported on the territory-wide Bible knowledge competition in the church's Inter-American region called Super Bible Boom. What made this competition unique was the grand prize. The winner of the competition will have an opportunity to represent the church's region during the upcoming General Conference session in July. Waylon Johnson, a young adult from the Bahamas, was named the competition's winner last week and was officially named the youth delegate for the Inter-American region of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Church leaders from the region praised the young adults who participated in the Bible knowledge competition, but they urged them to keep up their diligent studies. Israel Leto, president of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Inter-America, told attendees during the award ceremony that his wish is that young people aren't simply reading the Bible to participate in competitions, but to be truly transformed for the rest of their lives because of God's promises.
And finally in the news this week, one of the many ways ADRA is meeting the needs of families affected by the earthquake in Nepal is through food distribution. ADRA Nepal prepared the following report to show how the agency is helping locals with emergency food.
Today, as they gather in the village square, they wait with patient anticipation of more help coming to them from ADRA. Some of them have already received tarps, and today they will be getting much-needed emergency food supplies. Finally, the 7 trucks, full of bags of rice and other food items, arrive in the village and drive up to the school compound. Volunteers help unload the goods into the classrooms. Once the trucks have left, the time has come for distribution. Each family is given a ticket, and they wait for their number to be called. They then take their turn in a short line where they sign for their food. The people demonstrated their amazing strength and dexterity as they carried away nearly 50 kilograms of food supplies on their back, navigating steep mountain paths. The Nepali people are strong and resilient. They will recover from this crisis and soon once again be independent and self-sufficient. Until that day, they are extremely grateful for the help that they are receiving from the outside. Thanks to your generosity, ADRA is providing this kind of emergency relief to many families in Nepal. Thank you for your continued support for the people of Nepal.
We'll be back after the break with our weekly features.
I think prayer means connecting with God and listening to Him and Him listening to us.
Prayer means just talking to God like I'm talking to a person.
Sometimes we don't always hear what He's trying to speak to us, but we need to listen, and we also need to speak to Him and be true with Him, and prayer is a time to do that.
As residents in the city of Baltimore in the US state of Maryland reflect on how to make changes to their city after the death of Freddie Gray, the 25-year-old who died from a spinal cord injury he sustained while in police custody, a local church is using social media to make a difference. Angela Taipei has more.
A few weeks ago, ANN reported on the protests that took place in Baltimore, Maryland in the United States. Citywide peaceful protests were quickly overshadowed by isolated violent riots, and Baltimore residents began to see that the majority of news coverage of the events was incomplete at best. In response, on May 2nd, an organizing meeting was held at Miracle Temple Seventh-day Adventist Church for social media activists in the Baltimore area. Their goal was to find a way to tell an accurate and cohesive story about what was happening in their city. The group met via Skype with Maya Watson, the Director of Marketing and Social Media of Oprah Winfrey's Harpo Studios. She answered questions, encouraged attendees to think about the events more profoundly, asking themselves what change they really wanted to see, and gave guidance on how to arrive to those goals. Attendees were encouraged to take ownership of the events and help validate the movement by creating an organized message online. The group worked together to change the narrative being told of Baltimore. There are many important lessons that can be taken from this event. One is that social media can be an invaluable tool for helping share your side of the story, or even more importantly, to give voice to the unheard. But also, sometimes the best social media networking happens offline. Don't be afraid to reach out in person to help spread your message. It may mean calling another local church to ask if they will help you advertise an upcoming event on their Facebook page. or meeting up with community influencers to brainstorm ideas on how to get your message out.
Now let's turn to David Trim for a look at Adventist history. This week, learn about the first Adventist missionaries who were sent to South Africa.
During this week, 113 years ago, May 10 through 20, 1902, the Brazil Conference was organized in Gaspar Alto in the Brazilian state of Santa Catarina. H.F. Graf, a German-American missionary from Minnesota, was elected the first president. The conference comprised 19 Adventist congregations with a total of 742 members. There are now 8 separate unions in Brazil, and as of December 31st, 2014, they comprised 16,440 congregations and 1,519,038 church members. Truly mighty oaks have grown from that original acorn. On May 11, 1887, a party of pioneer missionaries left New York City. 2 ministers, Doris A. Robinson and Charles L. Boyd, and their wives, Edna Robinson and Maud Sisley Boyd, sailed for Cape Town, accompanied by a Bible instructor, Miss Carrie Mace, and 2 colporteurs, George Burley and R.S. Anthony. These were the first Adventist missionaries to be sent to South Africa, where they arrived in July. The same date, the 11th of May, but 45 years later in 1922, was the first day of the 40th General Conference session held in San Francisco. Arthur G. Daniels had been General Conference President for 21 years, a record, but was not re-elected at this session. The Secretary, William A. Spicer, was elected in his place. Daniels was bitterly disappointed, but he went on to play a leading role in creating the Ministerial Association, while Spicer provided strong, mission-focused leadership as president for 8 years. That was this week in Adventist history.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
In the meantime, join our global conversation on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can connect with other Adventists worldwide through stories, photos, and videos. Visit Facebook/Adventist News, Twitter/Adventist Church, and Instagram @Adventist Church.
Our good news for this week comes from Psalm chapter 94, verses 18 and 19. The passage says, "When I said, 'My foot is slipping,' your unfailing love, Lord, supported me. When anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought me joy."
And that's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.